Just check my mic is working. Looks good. And we've had a donation already. Todd Sargent. So, let's see. There it is. Let's open that. And I'm gonna download it. Can't download it. Okay, I'm just gonna wait like a couple minutes for people to join. Hey Bjorn and Zega. How's everybody doing this nice Easter weekend? Just been to the beach and to local B&Q to pick up some garden furniture and an umbrella. It's sweltering 12 degrees today. Sun's out. Everybody's shirts are off. Is Todd here yet? Todd Sargent. Todd Sargent. Yeah, I'm excited to set up my garden furniture. It's a milestone in my life to have garden furniture. Download enabled. Let's check it out. Download. Todd, your face is aesthetically pleasing to me. Nice beard, good bald head. I'll give you a solid 8.5 out of 10. Beautiful. Let's hope the music matches the face. Okay. Let's get some span up. So far, really nice. I dig it. Nice drums, interesting percussion, like nice and grainy. Morning, Jesus, death. That's Does my server boost count as a donation? Oh wait, is that Tyler? Is Tyler Zege? Zege Lambrecht. By the way, thank you so much for the $25 donation, Todd. That's a big donation, and I really appreciate it. It's gonna contribute towards the money I just spent on my garden furniture. So, thank you. Honestly, so far I have nothing constructive to say. It just sounds really good to me. I'm enjoying it. Sounds great. Good vibes all around. Not really feeling the piano in there. It's not like it doesn't sound bad. I just feel like it doesn't really fit the vibe of the track. I don't know, maybe like a darker piano, like the Labs piano or something, would fit better. This one just feels like very like dance piano, but the rest of the track is like really atmospheric, and I just feel like a piano with a bit less like hardness to it would sound good, sound better. Wait, is Oliver Heldeep actually from Heldeep? He claims he is. I need proof though. If you are, tweet from Oliver's account and prove it. I think over here it's lacking a little bit of high end. Alright. I think it's maybe the sweep that you're using just sounds like it's being rolled off, like probably at like, I don't know, 2K or something. 2K or something. Oh, yeah. Okay, 7K. So it's like kind of rolling off and it just feels a bit unnatural. Like I expect like a tss. Just feels weird that there's nothing happening above like 7-8K around there. But like compositionally it works. I think the energy like transfer compositionally works. It's just like a frequency thing. So I would maybe just open up that sweep a bit more. think over here it's getting a bit chaotic. Like it would work if on this beat here, on this downbeat, if you kind of like took the chaos away and closed your filters and then just made it like nice and deep. But this is getting a bit too much, I think. Really good vibes. I enjoy it. I think it'll do well. Wherever it winds up. I would be surprised if this didn't get signed. It sounds really cool. One thing I'm noticing when I'm like looking at the spectrum, I already struggle to judge low end on these headphones. So I usually mix on my monitors, and every time I've mixed on my headphones and switched to my monitors, my low end has just been wrong. So I don't trust my ears when I'm listening to the low end that much through my headphones. But when I'm looking at the spectrum, I'm almost certain that if I had switched over to my monitors, I would feel like maybe the sub's a little bit loud and there's not enough like 150 to 200 information. Like I would probably want a little bit more stuff happening over here and maybe a little bit less happening in the sub. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but you might want to just like test it on a few different systems and see. Because I have a feeling that if I had listened to this on my monitors, which I can't do because it'll feed back through the mic, that you might end up, well, I would have maybe ended up adjusting that. But it's like, definitely doesn't stand out when I listen to it, so I'm just suggesting that you double check it. Like that's a very big, like sudden drop in frequencies that happens, which makes me feel like maybe there's just not enough harmonics in the sub. like over here it looks a bit more balanced, but I think that's because your sub is not playing over here, it's just your kick sub. So maybe your synth sub is too loud. Check the balance between your kick sub and your synth sub. I would make your kick sub a few dB louder than your than your synth sub. So like your kick sub should be, I would usually make it like maybe 4 to 6 dB louder, depending on the track and depending on what key it's in. But I mean, arrangement sounds great to me, except for over here. I think it just gets maybe a bit too chaotic. So I'd think about making this like B section of this drop, maybe a little less chaotic. Or you could keep it. Maybe it's just my personal taste. But I think the rest of the arrangement works really well, and it's a good vibe. Okay, I'm sure it's been said a million times, but hey, Bob Ross of electronic dance music. Yep, I've heard it many, many times. I used to think my voice was really boring. Well, I think that was like, yeah, the feedback that I got my whole life. When I was at school, everybody was like, oh, your voice is so monotone. And ever since I started YouTube, it's like literally the only time people have praised me for my relaxing voice. So it's been a good thing for me. Okay. Bjorn is next. Thank you so much for the $5 donation, Bjorn. Let's listen to his track. Wherever it is. Did he send it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Hey man, something new for today. I'm not sure about the piano sound in the intro because I tried to use something different than Labs, but all VST pianos I came around sound a little shitty to me. That's true. Anyway, thanks for the help as always. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you. You too. Calm voice is also a good voice. Not everything has to be colorful. I agree with that. I get quite annoyed sometimes on like watching people on YouTube that are like overly animated and expressive. It's like tiring to follow them. Yep, I'm from South Africa. You should do these go to sleep stories and apps that have cheap ads on Instagram. Yeah. So many people have suggested that I do that. Is it ASMR? Nice. I don't think the piano sounds too bad. Sounds pretty good to me. Maybe you could do like a little bit of strumming in the piano chords just to make them feel a little bit more played. Like by strumming, I mean like offset notes time-wise a little bit, so it feels like, you know, it's not like a robot just like smacking all the keys at once. Let's just double check that. yeah, you could probably like shift some notes a little bit off the grid, make it feel a little bit more human. Maybe play a little bit more with the velocity, bring down the velocity of like this little. I'm going to zoom in here, like this note over here. Like that one could be probably quieter than this one. It looks a bit quieter, like visually, but doesn't sound much quieter, so maybe you could bring that down a bit. Nice bass line, nice kick. Drums sound good, nicely mixed. A little pluck, whatever it is. That's out of key. Or at least it has like harmonics in it that are out of key. Yeah, definitely. Very nice groove though, and the mix sounds really good to me. Well done. Yeah, I'm loving the melody. Yeah, we've had a really good start to this session. Both tracks, first two tracks, like I really don't have much constructive feedback. They sound really good. So whoever follows this, Prash is next. You better be good. Loads of pressure on you. Delete your track if you don't think it's gonna live up to the standard. No, I'm kidding. Don't. I swear Bjorn, like, he's been in pretty much every single one of my live streams and he's been like the first person commenting. But I don't recall like hearing much music from him until I think like 1 or 2 live streams ago you sent something in. And I think I remember that one also being quite good. But it's nice to be hearing music from you. Okay, nice one, dude. Brush. Let's find his. Just finished with this one. Would love to hear your opinion about the vocals and vibes of the track. It's not Feedback Friday, it's Send Tune Saturday. Whoa, this looks like a long boy. Not too bad. Almost 7 minutes. Kick sounds a bit distorted. I think that the two main things so far is the kick is like clipping or it's distorted or something. Maybe overly limited. Because it does look like it's been limited quite hard. And then the bass, I don't like how it's this kind of, it sounds just like a saw wave with a filter on it, and it's like the filter's quite high up. And it's like there's not much movement in the filter, it's just like really sustained. I think you could make it sound better if you had like the filter moving down a bit, so it started off like as bright as it is now and then just tailed off to like 100 hertz, so you're only really getting sub in. I think it would clean up the mix and just make the sub feel a bit more dynamic. But I think the vocals are working nicely, and the rest of the mix seems quite balanced. Over here, I think like the sub feels as loud as it is in the drops. So I would just tone it down like 4 or 5 dB, make it quieter than the drops. Maybe like fade it in here over time instead of just bringing it straight back in. Because it kind of does fade in, but it fades in too quickly. So either have it coming in at full power or fade it in over like this full length over here, like really slowly, is how I would do it. I like this section. It has like a nice groove to it, and I quite like that ARP. Not the ARP, but the beep, 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 whatever you want to call that, melody or motif or something. By the way, the distortion on the kick is not really like audible over here, but in the intro it is. So you could probably solve that by just like having a bit less sub in your kick in the intro. But yeah, maybe, I don't know how much you're limiting, but maybe just back off on the limiter a bit. You could also automate the gain on your entire track so that the intro is a little bit quieter, like 1 or 2 dB quieter than when the drop happens. Same thing with the like the breakdowns and the bridges or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, good work, man. I enjoyed it. I think the vocal works nicely. Other than like the few mixing things I said and the sound design and the sub, I think it works nicely. Good work. So we've had 3 nice tunes so far. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top of the queue now because we don't have any more donations. I'll start from yesterday because yesterday was supposed to be happening. Let's just see. April 2. Okay, Tyler. Finally, we get to listen to some of Tyler's music. Been very active in the Discord, and I appreciate that. I love it when people are active. So, and I must admit, I have not listened to any of his music yet. So let's see how this goes. Illusions. Unmastered. How dare you send me an unmastered track? First bit of feedback. Master it. You're gonna make me master it. I'm gonna put a limiter on there so that we can hear it as loud or more or less as loud as the other tracks. I'm going to play a little section of probably the busiest part of the track here. So let's... Okay, I'm not doing too much limiting there, just a touch. Just so that we can get it as loud as the rest. I'm doing this for you. And let's go. So I think like the track so far, like the atmosphere that I'm getting is like this dark atmosphere, but then you've got these like kids playing in the background, so it's kind of doesn't fit, I don't think. But I don't want to judge it too quickly because I haven't actually heard like much else context. But so far the mix sounds good, it's got a nice groove, drums sound good, so starting off on a good note, I think. I also wouldn't have like the kids playing on the field, like playing throughout the whole track. I would have it like in the intro and then cut it out so that we can focus on what's happening here, because it's a bit distracting maybe, or maybe just tone it down a bit through this section is what I would do. Yeah, I think toning it down is probably the right thing. So it's fine as loud as it is through here, but then when that kick comes in, then you like just bring it down like 5 to 8 dB, I would say. Because I want to focus on the melody, the thing that's going dum, 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 dum. I want to be focusing on that, but the kids playing in the background is kind of like at the front of the mix almost, it feels like to me. So I'm focusing more on that. That, but if you think about it, like psychologically, we are programmed as humans to hear kids' voices. Like that's the range we're most sensitive to, because obviously if your child is fallen off a swing or is being chased by a bear, you need to be able to hear that. So it's like psychologically I hear a kid's voice and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be listening to your melody anymore. I can't help but just focus on the kid's voice. So yeah, I think that would be another reason why I would tone it down. Maybe if it was like a different atmosphere, like, I don't know, cars driving down the road or a sea or something, you would lose focus of that. But because it's a human child's voice, we programmed to like focus on that. I like it. Falling off a swing or being chased by a bear. If you're in Russia, that's a possibility that both of those things would happen at the same time. Your child falls off a swing and then a bear chases them around the playground.
A person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts. So, he loses touch with reality and lives in a world of illusion. By thoughts, I mean specifically chatter in the skull, perpetual and compulsive repetition of words, of reckoning and calculating. I'm not saying that thinking is bad. Like everything else, is useful in moderation. A good servant, but a bad master. And all so-called civilized peoples.
Mix-wise, I think that vocal be a bit brighter. Like you could take something like, if you have this CQ, this is great for like bringing out a little bit of presence in vocals. If you put it at like 2.3 or 3.5, then boost it quite a lot.
Have increasingly become crazy and self-destructive because through...
Okay, listen to how much clearer that is.
Have increasingly become crazy and self-destructive because through excessive thinking they have lost touch with reality. That's to say, we confuse signs.
And yeah, somebody just said, I think one phrase is enough, not a full monologue. I think I completely agree with that. Like, you should have, maybe, I don't know how you would judge what one phrase is, but I think after this first 8 bars or whatever.
In a world of illusion. By thoughts, I mean specifically.
I think I would try and find something that's like really meaningful and that like connects with you, and then maybe repeat that over and over again. But like, I think this is too much of the monologue.
Bad. Like everything else, is useful in moderation. A good servant, but a bad master. And
I'm too poor for this. Well, you don't have to use this. This is just like a better option than using EQ8, but you could use EQ8 and just boost around 7K.
is bad. Like everything else, is useful in moderation. Is bad. Like everything else, is useful in moderation. A good servant, but a bad master. Is bad. Like everything else, is useful in moderation. A good servant, but a bad master.
Yeah, you won't get the same like quality of EQing out of EQ8, but you can still just put something like this onto the vocal and you will get it sounding a bit more clear.
Through excessive thinking, they have lost touch with reality. That's to say, we confuse signs, words, numbers, symbols, and ideas with the real world. Most of us would have rather money than tangible wealth, and a great occasion is somehow spoiled for us unless photographed. And to read about it the next day in the newspaper is oddly more fun for us than the original event. This is a disaster.
So it's quite a nice melody and the mix sounds decent to me. Don't really have much other constructive feedback to give you. You said you're using FL Studio, Fruity Parametric, yeah, whatever EQ you want to use. All I'm saying is boost like around 4 to 7K just to make that vocal a little bit more understandable, because at the moment it's quite like dull and a bit buried. Like if you had to hear that in a busy environment, like at a party where everybody's chatting, you probably wouldn't be able to understand what he's saying because all the high frequencies just drown it out. Someone just walked by my window and his hair was the worst. Hate it when that happens. Like the perfect track to reference is that Marsh track who uses the same speaker, whoever this guy is. What's his name? Is it this one?
The easiest way.
Yeah, so just reference this track and EQ that vocal until it sounds like identically processed as this Come Together track.
To get into the
And
meditation.
what I mean about the whole like not putting the entire monologue in is this one is like super easy to follow, even if you're like in a club and you were drunk and not paying attention. It's the phrase is short, but it's like really powerful, so you can like easily latch onto it and remember the message behind it. But that one is just like such a long message that like it's fine if you're, you know, completely sober and you're listening intently, but if you heard that in like a relaxed environment, you'd probably switch off after like 10 seconds of hearing this guy rambling on about stuff, and it might not like translate into the whole dance world very well. So just think about that. But if you want to keep it like that, it's your art, so do it. Okay, next up is Clark. Thank you for the $5 donation. This is strictly for Pad Thai. Did you send your track in, Clark? I know Clark was working on a track yesterday, so he better have sent it in. I think he did. Deep Sea Dive. You need to enable downloads, but I will start listening to it like this. To give you some context, Koff is one of my students, and yesterday I gave him a bunch of feedback on this track on our one-to-one session. So I have heard it before, but I haven't heard it today. I know that he said that yesterday he was going to go back and take all my feedback and work on it. So hopefully it's improved a bit. Should be good to download. Okay, let's refresh it and then download it. Where were we? We're about here. 130. Oh, that maximizer needs to be off. Sorry, I fucked up the let's just listen from here. Yeah, it's working out really nicely. I think the drums are sounding good. I think maybe you could work on the EQ, like the overall balance a bit. Like the mid-range feels a bit too loud. Feels a bit more balanced, so I wouldn't just throw that on the master. That just indicates that maybe you need to go in and find some mid-range stuff, pads, synths, and just turn them down 3 dB across the board, whatever's sitting in that range. Yeah, so yesterday one of the feedback I gave him was that the vocal chop needs to like change rhythmically a bit, so that's why it's changed over here, and I think you did a good job over here. I think that the rhythm still works nicely, but it's different enough for it to feel like a new section. I think this piano, like, it repeats the same progression like over and over again. One way you could make that a lot more interesting is to keep the top line the same, so it's still going ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. But if you just change the bass notes every repetition, so go and look up Piano by Eric Prydz. I know I did a remix on it, so I know like that chord progression very well. But like, it sounds like the chords are just repeating over and over again, but it's actually a really long chord progression because the bass notes are constantly changing throughout, like over like, I think it's over like 8 bars or something. The bass notes change while the top line is staying the same. So if you did the same thing here, it might make this section a bit more interesting, and wherever else you're using the piano. So just go and look up that chord progression. I think it's on Hook Theory, hooktheory.com or whatever the website is. Go and look at that and see how he like did his bass line. Maybe you can do something similar with yours in whatever key you're in. so you can especially see it through here. If you're looking at the balance, your sub is like quite a lot quieter than your mid-range. And I would expect that to be, your sub always to be louder than your mid-range. If not, like maybe the same level as your sub. Yeah, I think definitely working on that piano chord progression would help. I just want to show you quickly what I mean. Right. There we go, chords. So here you can see like these are this is the melody going B flat A G, B flat A G. It's repeating 4 times. But if you look at the chords below it, I'll get back to the beginning here. It's going G minor, F, E flat, and it's mostly the bass note that's making these chords change. So you can see it's never the same repetition. But like to somebody who doesn't know anything about music, they would just be. I've seen people like comment on YouTube saying, "Oh, it's like he's the only person that could make 3 notes last throughout an entire track." When in reality, it's not just 3 notes. It's like a really long, complex chord progression that he's doing. Never does the same thing through each repetition. Which is super interesting, I think. Okay, guys, I only have until 5:30. It's 7 minutes past 5 now. So I'm going to keep going down the list, but just to let you know, don't be disappointed if I don't get to your track today. So after Tyler, it is Tactical Pro. Experience. Deep Atmo. Okay. Damn, that kick is hitting hard, and it's like very deep. Sounds like it's probably hitting like C or something. I need to check this for. I think maybe it's a bit too deep, I think. Yeah. C sharp or D, I think it's hitting. That's like a very low kick. I'm not sure it'll work really well when like the rest of the sub comes in, but not gonna judge it too soon. Yeah, so the balance between this section and this section feels a bit off. Like it's so full and full of mid-range here, and then all that mid-range just disappears when the kick comes in. And it almost just feels like makes this feel smaller than this section. Yeah. On top of that, I think the ARP that you have over here needs to be cleaned up a bit. Mid-range taken out of it. Like this section is too full. Yeah, and this bass line isn't doing enough for me for it to just be playing on its own. Like that ARP sounds pretty cool, but nothing over here really is connecting with me. That shaker loop could be a lot wider too. The ARP is starting to feel a bit repetitive. Not really sure what I'd do about that, but maybe like try and change up the notes, give it a bit more variation. I can hear that like you're automating like filter cutoff and stuff, but maybe automate more things on there to keep it interesting. nice that you've then automated the attack there and lengthened it. Maybe you could have done that on the drop instead of doing it here, and then do something else here just to make this section feel different to this section. Is this a clap from my pack? It sounds like it is. I already recognize it. Yeah, it's happened again where just taking that out, there's not enough elements to replace the ARP over here, so this just feels like completely empty to me. Like I would need like a really interesting sub, or like a really like warm sub that just takes up all of the lows and the mids to kind of replace that ARP. But this sub is just... it's just too weak, like sound design wise, for it to be playing on its own. So I would fix that by probably keeping that ARP in but filtered down, or making a new sub. Yeah, I just don't think this ARP is like compelling enough for it to just repeat through the whole track without like any changes. It's very hard to make a melody or ARP that sounds good enough for it to just stand on its own through the whole track. So the way to fix that is to just either add more elements or like really work on that ARP and get it sounding super interesting and emotional. Sweet. Okay, next up is Jake Hunter. Flying Decibels, The Road, Jake Hunter remix. That immediately sounds good to me, so I'm excited because this might be the last track of the day. Wait, what happened there? What's happening there? Sounds like the kick's got like a short delay on it or something. Ooh, that doesn't work. Whatever's happening there, I would not do that. Doesn't feel right.
I'm living my hometown tonight. There's nothing you can say. I feel ready to say goodbye. Nothing will make me stay. Living my hometown tonight. The wind will be my guide, as long as my eyes can bear the light. Living at the pace of the tide. I'll go so far you won't find me. I'll free my mind and trust my feet. You'll try and try but won't catch me, because the road is calling me.
Yeah, this is cool. I dig it. I think when the kick hits over here, the mid-range or mid-bass that you have, that's playing the main melody or whatever, I think just on this kick that you should take out all the mids and just have sub, because when it first hits, it's just too much information, I think, and it just sounds like the kick and the bass are like masking each other almost. And then over here you open it up to as exactly how it is currently. So right here, take out all of those mids from that bass line, and I think this, when this first kick hits, it'll feel like so much more pleasing.
It's calling me.
Did that like kick delay thing over here again. which just does not work for me. I think it might work if that delay had all of the sub taken out of it, like even more than the sub. So if you had like the delay shape maybe like this, it would work.
Living everything you know is fine. Time to start again. If I lose myself, I've tried. I will break the chain. I'll go so far you won't find me. I'll free my mind and trust my feet. You'll try and try but won't catch me, because the road is calling me.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of like camel fat vibes from this. Somebody said, does the BPM seem a tad fast? It feels a lot faster than the rest of the tracks we've heard today, and it's not like in the same like speed that I would usually be making tracks, so maybe that's why it feels fast. But I think it suits the track. I don't think there's a problem with the BPM. Feels like it might be like 128 or 130 or something. 126, I think it's picked up. Probably a remix. What gives you that idea? Is it in the title? Yeah, that was cool. I think the mix sounds good, and don't really have much constructive feedback to give you, other than that initial hit, that first kick where I said low pass the sub or the bass. I think the rest of it sounds pretty good and catchy and like really nice groove to it, so good work. Okay, I'll do one last one. Beos. Sorry, your link does not work. Beos, this guy. You need to share your private link, and I don't have time to wait for you to update that, so. Emma, you lucky mother fudger. Last track of the day. Well, this is a collab between MA and Malfoy. Look at this guy, not even putting a limiter on his track. I rarely get offended when people don't do this. Just put a limiter on. It takes 2 seconds. Okay. Let's go. Mate, are these the chords from Time by Hans Zimmer? Sounds to me like it is. I like that there. That was a really cool little effect. But over here, something sounds out of key. I think the do sounds like it's in a different key to me. Oh. Track name is Time, so yeah, I guess that gives you a clue. So is this supposed to be like a cover or a remix or something? Bootleg? Because you can actually just like, you know, cover a song. I don't know if I'm the first one to be ashamed by this, but I've been making music for like whatever 5 years now, and this year is the first time I found out that you can actually just cover any track that you want and put it on Spotify as long as you buy a mechanical license for it and you pay royalties to the original song owner. You can literally just, like, if, I don't know, Camel Fat makes a track, you could remake the entire track exactly as is, as long as you don't sample a single sound from it, and call it a cover and release it. And even if it like does better than the original and goes into the UK top charts or whatever, there's nothing they can do as long as you have a mechanical license. And to get a mechanical license, it's not like you have to get approval from the label. You literally just go onto some website and buy yourself a mechanical license. Even if the song sounds like shit, there's nothing they can do. If the song does better than theirs, there's nothing they can do. Anybody can cover any song they want. And that actually blew my mind when I first found that out. Like, pop artists have released tracks. It's happened before, and then somebody else goes and covers it and then releases that cover, and that cover goes into the charts before the original and does better than the original. And this has actually happened. And because they have a mechanical license to do this, there's absolutely nothing they can do, as long as you haven't actually like used any samples from the original track. It's chord time. I just use the chords. And this is like also another misconception, is that because you've, like, a lot of people say, oh, it's totally legal to use chords from other tracks. It's actually a gray area. You're not legally allowed to use a chord progression from another track if it sounds like, you know, like in this case with Time, the chords are the melody. So you can't take these chords and use them in any track you want. If this went into court, you would 100% lose the case, especially against Hans Zimmer. Like, they would be like, oh, you've clearly just stolen the melody from this track. But like, for instance, you know, there's some chord progressions that can't really be copyrighted because they're so like generic, you know, like a 1-3-5-7 chord progression played like on a piano over 4 bars. Oh, yeah, over 4 bars. Like, that can't be copyrighted. But like, the Time chord progression is so like synonymous and is essentially the identity of that track. So you couldn't use that and get away with it. I think the low end of this track could maybe use a bit of work. Let's just have a listen. Okay. Let's turn off this. Wait, did I put a limiter on? I did. So you probably want to be boosting the sub quite a bit on the kick and the synth sub. Yeah, mostly it's the energy differences between like when the drums come in and like the breaks before that. Like this feels so much like fuller and more powerful than when the kick comes in. It's just like super weak, and I think it's really just like a volume issue. So turn up your kick and turn up your synth sub here. Make this section quieter than this section. And once you sorted that out, this will probably feel a bit better. There's definitely something that feels a little bit off there with that dun, 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 dun. I think it's the second note. Like you can hear it over there. It just feels out of key. Yeah, so that synth effect is cool, but I think it's the novelty of it is worn off by this point. I would probably use that like once or twice in the track. If I used it again, I'd make it very different. Like you could use the same effects, but maybe a different like rate on the LFO, or change it around, maybe a different octave, filter it differently, just change it up a bit. Okay, sweet guys. I got to head out. Thanks for joining me on this Saturday and for the donations and the chats. Hope you guys have a good Easter Sunday tomorrow and nice long weekend. And I will catch you next week. All the best. Bye.